They killed Caitlin Clark in Indiana. They've done it intentionally. They've now justified moving on from her. Maurice, Charles, welcome into the conversation. Maurice, I want to go to you first. What do you think of my assertion that it's over for Caitlin Clark in Indiana and they're going to move her at some point this season?
That accusation should change how you watch every Indiana Fever game this season. Jason Whitlock isn't speculating, he's claiming the biggest star in women's basketball is being sabotaged on purpose by her own franchise. Caitlin Clark, the rookie who broke every viewership record in 2024, is allegedly being engineered out of Indianapolis. Once you see the evidence, you can't unsee it.
Los Angeles, listen, the Indiana Fever is being run like a local corner store, okay? It looked like it's being run by the nieces and nephews that are just getting a few dollars to help out Unc with the business. And it's unprofessional, and it doesn't seem fit for a star like Caitlin Clark, although we felt like it would be a good fit, especially with her Midwest roots and her core fan base being there. But they've mishandled it to the point where it doesn't matter. Her fans aren't even showing up the game.
A corner store. That's how Maris Charles describes a franchise sitting on a generational talent. The evidence keeps piling up. Empty seats in Gainbridge Fieldhouse, rotations that defy basketball logic, a roster built to survive without Caitlin Clark, not flourish with her. Whitlock thinks this is part of a plan. The deeper you look at the moves the Fever have actually made, the harder it gets to call this incompetence.
And I think you laid it out beautifully, man. The Indiana Fever have done everything they can to show that they want to build this team around Stephanie White and Kelsey Mitchell. That's why you go and draft a Raven Johnson in the first round. And this team was built to survive and be better without Caitlin. Meanwhile, Jason and I have been saying the job here is to win with Caitlin Clark. They clearly have set it up for.
Look at the personnel decisions. The Fever drafted Raven Johnson in the first round, a defensive guard who plays Caitlin's position. They hired Stephanie White as head coach, a former Indiana player with championship pedigree at Purdue. They brought Lynn Dunn back as senior advisor. Every move makes sense if your goal is building a team that doesn't depend on Caitlin Clark. None of them make sense if your goal is winning with her. That's not coincidence. That's a pattern with a destination.
And I thought, he's on to something when you said LA, and here's why. As big as Caitlin Clark is, it doesn't compare to how big Wayne Gretzky was in Canada. And the Edmonton Oilers shipped him to LA because it was better for the NHL. So if hockey can take Canada's biggest asset, it would have been like trading Michael Jordan to Canada if the roles was reversed. So if hockey can send Wayne Gretzky to LA to play for the Kings, of all people, I can see.
And here's the historical comparison that flips this conversation on its head. The Wayne Gretzky trade. In 1988, the Edmonton Oilers shipped the greatest hockey player who ever lived to the Los Angeles Kings. Edmonton didn't want to do it. Canada didn't want to do it. But the NHL needed Gretzky in a major American market to grow the sport. So the league made it happen. Sound familiar? Caitlin Clark, stuck in Indianapolis, is the same problem the NHL was solving in 1988. A generational star buried in a small market while the league desperately needs her somewhere visible. The precedent exists. The motive exists. The only remaining question is execution.
Figure that out. And I'll tell you something, Maurice. Maybe I've listened to you and Jason a little bit too much in the past week, but the truth of the matter is, I don't think they have any interest in figuring that out. I mean, do they want to win? Yeah, sure, they want to win. I don't think for one second that the Indiana Fever don't want to win. But are they sitting in the office saying, hey, let's figure out how to win what Caitlin Clark is the star like she was for the Iowa Hawkeyes and everybody else just fill it in? I think they have no interest in that.
Charles Davis just admitted he's been converted. He came into this conversation skeptical of Whitlock's conspiracy theory. He left agreeing the Fever have no interest in figuring out how to win with Caitlin Clark. Think about what that admission means, coming from someone who's spent decades analyzing professional basketball. Davis understands organizational dysfunction. He knows when a team is trying versus when they're going through the motions. And he just said this team isn't even pretending to build around their franchise player. Last night against Atlanta, the defense finally switched up the scheme. They started trapping the corner. They stopped switching 1 through 5, and it worked immediately. So why did it take a full training camp, 5 preseason games, and 8 regular season games to make that obvious adjustment? Stephanie White isn't a bad coach. She won a championship at Purdue. She has decades of experience. So either she's suddenly the worst tactician in professional basketball, which her resume contradicts, or something else is going on entirely.
Listen, gentlemen, what I'm really arguing is I'm actually giving them some grace. That no, this is a league decision. This decision was made after year 1. Hey, we got to get Caitlin Clark out of Indiana after her rookie season. We have to get her out of Indiana. I think the decision was made then because they figured out a way to win with Caitlin Clark. The coach was Christy Sides, and it was the second half of her rookie season. They made progress.
Here's where Whitlock's theory crystallizes into something specific. He's not saying Stephanie White woke up incompetent. He's saying the decision to move Caitlin Clark was made after her rookie season, and everything since has been organized around executing that decision. Look at the timeline. Christy Sides got fired after year 1, despite the team trending upward. The Fever made the playoffs. The second half of the rookie season showed real progress. There was no basketball reason to make a coaching change, but then Stephanie White arrives. Lynn Dunn returns. The roster gets reshaped with redundant pieces. The defensive scheme keeps Caitlin in matchups she can't survive. The pick and roll with Aaliyah Boston. The play that should be the foundation of this offense, given Aaliyah's dominance in that action, barely gets called. Whitlock's theory is that this isn't a Fever decision. It's a league decision. Get Caitlin to Los Angeles where she matters. And Stephanie White, Lynn Dunn, the entire front office, they've been handed the assignment of executing the move without destroying the franchise on the way out.
Stephanie White is really, really bad at her job. None of this makes sense and all of that. But I've started to move away from that, and I said, there's no way, because Stephanie White's one power as a coach is she knows how to take a team that's not supposed to win much and make them look like something. She's not going to win you championships, but a team that no one thinks is going to be anything, she'll make them look decent. And that's what she does. Well, so to do that, you have to be able to coach to some degree, right? And
a work. That's the wrestling term Maris uses, and it should change how you watch every Fever press conference. In professional wrestling, a work is when the audience thinks they're seeing real conflict, but the entire thing is scripted. Maris is suggesting Stephanie White isn't a bad coach. She's a plant. The entire front office was placed there to sabotage Caitlin Clark's situation from within. That sounds like a conspiracy theory until you start tracking the decisions. The WNBA's attendance has surged since Caitlin Clark arrived. Local TV ratings for Fever games are up dramatically. National ratings broke records throughout 2024, with Caitlin's games consistently drawing the largest WNBA audiences in decades. The Caitlin Clark effect is real and measurable in actual revenue. Indianapolis sits at roughly the 25th largest TV market in the country. Los Angeles is the second largest. New York is the first. If your job is maximizing the league's overall value, you don't leave your franchise player in market 25. You move her. And if you can't move her openly because the optics would be brutal, you make the current situation so untenable that the move becomes inevitable.
Because Whitlock brought up the defense, which I don't know why it took you a full training camp, all preseason, plus 8 regular season games to see that you should not be switching 1 through 5. You should never switch a 5'8" guard onto a 6'6" center freely throughout the game unless it's forced. It made no sense. She said before the game, Charles, a reporter asked her about the 1 through 5 switching and if any changes would be made and why they were doing it. And do the players just not know what they're doing? And she said, well, it's not that the players don't know what they're doing. As coaches, I guess, we haven't told them.
Listen to that answer one more time. As coaches, we haven't told them. Stephanie White is sitting at a press conference 8 games into the regular season. Asked why her team keeps switching 1 through 5 and giving up easy buckets to opposing centers, and her explanation is that they haven't told the players to do anything differently. Whitlock is right. This doesn't function as a basketball explanation. Stephanie White won a national championship as a player at Purdue. She has decades of coaching experience at every level. She knows you cannot switch a 5'8" guard onto a 6'6" center freely throughout an entire game. Every coach at every level of basketball knows that. So why would she sit at a podium and effectively admit she hasn't given her players defensive instructions a third of the way through the season? Either she's the worst tactician in professional basketball, which contradicts everything we know about her career, or she's playing a part in a much larger production. The mistakes are too obvious. The press conference comments are too strange. The decisions defy basketball logic at every turn. That's not incompetence. That's choreography.
Yeah. Do you think if Michael Jordan got injured his second, third, fourth season at the height of his popularity, we would never see a Michael Jordan press conference where he's talking, updating us on his injury, when he might be back? They kept Caitlin Clark completely away from the media all of last year. She never had to hold a press conference and say, hey, here's where I am with my injury, here's blah, blah, blah. Nothing. We got nothing from Caitlin Clark.
And this is the moment that broke the case wide open. Whitlock's smoking gun, the piece of evidence that's hardest to explain away. Caitlin Clark was injured for most of the 2025 season, allegedly. We know this because the Fever told us. We don't know it because Caitlin told us. Because Caitlin Clark never held a single press conference about her injury, not one. Think about how strange that is for a moment. Michael Jordan, at the peak of his popularity, held press conferences about every injury. Kevin Durant held them throughout his Achilles recovery. Derrick Rose held them throughout his ACL recovery. Every superstar in professional basketball history has talked to the media about their injuries because the media demands it and the fans need updates. Caitlin Clark, the most marketable player in the WNBA, never did. Not in person, not on video, not in any forum where she could have answered a single follow-up question. The Fever simply put out a written statement on X before the final game of the season, announcing she was done for the year. That was the entire communication strategy. No press conference, no detailed injury update, no interview with medical staff, just a tweet posted in black and white text, distributed to fans with no way to ask anything back. Meanwhile, Caitlin was traveling with the team. She was signing autographs for hours before games. She was on the sidelines in street clothes, looking healthy. Fans kept buying tickets, hoping she'd come back any day. The Fever paraded their superstar around like a mascot while keeping her completely silent in front of cameras. Why? Two reasons. First, ticket sales. As long as Caitlin was officially listed as day-to-day, fans kept buying seats, hoping to see her play. Second, narrative control. If Caitlin held a press conference, she could have undermined the official story. She could have said she felt fine. She could have raised questions about why she wasn't on the floor. She could have created a problem the front office couldn't manage. Then Scott Agnes, the Fever beat reporter who covered this team for years, broke the story that Caitlin had an ankle injury on top of the groin injury the team had announced. The team had never mentioned that ankle issue publicly. Agnes saw the gaps in the official story and filled them in. And what happened to him? Whitlock says they're trying to end his business. He knew too much. He saw what didn't add up, and he reported it. Now he's a problem too. Add it all up, Stephanie White's strange press conference answers. Lynn Dunn's surprise return. The roster moves that don't fit Caitlin's game. The defensive scheme that consistently leaves her in matchups she can't survive. The mysterious injury, riddled second season with zero media access. Scott Agnes getting pushed out of his beat. Then the trade pieces conveniently sitting in Los Angeles. Kate Martin, Caitlin's Iowa teammate, on the Sparks roster. Cameron Brink on the Sparks roster. Erica Wheeler, Caitlin's mentor from her rookie year, on the Sparks roster. Corey Close potentially leaving UCLA to coach the Sparks after winning a national title and openly admitting she's exhausted by NIL chaos. The dominoes are lined up too precisely to look accidental anymore. Whitlock's theory isn't that Indiana doesn't want to win. It's that the WNBA understands Caitlin Clark is worth more in Los Angeles than Indianapolis, and the league has been engineering the move for 2 years. Once you see it from that angle, the bad decisions stop being bad. They become deliberate. The strange answers stop being strange. They become strategic. The injuries stop being unfortunate. They become convenient. The roster pieces in Los Angeles stop being coincidence. They become preparation. So here's the question that actually matters. If everything laid out here is true, is the WNBA even wrong to do it? Because the business case is real. The league cannot afford to leave its biggest star in a market that can't maximize her impact. Caitlin in Los Angeles means more national broadcasts, larger sponsorship deals, higher merchandise revenue, expanded global reach. Caitlin in Indianapolis means less of all of that. Whitlock himself admits this is the smart move for the league, even though it breaks his heart as someone from Indianapolis. So tell me what you think in the comments. Is Whitlock right? Is this a coordinated work to push Caitlin Clark to Los Angeles? Or are we watching one of the most poorly run franchises in professional sports stumble into chaos by accident? Pick a side and make your case. Because if this trade actually happens before the season ends, you'll be able to say you saw the dominoes falling first.